There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald. Rochelle, sadly, is sick today, and she can hardly talk. So I get the opportunity to interview Nick Kemp by myself today, which is really cool because he is the developer of a philosophy that is based upon Japanese culture. Ikigai is, and I hope I didn't screw that up, and that is the philosophy that he has created. So if you are a coach, a therapist, a psychologist, this is a great show for you to listen to, because the philosophy that we're going to talk about is grounded in hundreds or thousands of years, Nick.
Oh, I would say it's thousands might be stretching it a bit. So let's say hundreds.
Okay, and it's hundreds of years old, and it is a philosophy, and we're going to talk all about that. And so Nick Kemp is our guest, and he developed this, and he operates. He's a coach. He is a writer. He is a philosopher, I think, and he does a lot of really cool stuff. And today he's in Tokyo, Japan, and he's from Australia, I believe. Correct?
That's right, Kevin. I am. G'day, mate.
G'day. And I actually didn't do badly with that. And for dinner, he's going to go to 7-Eleven. Now, if you are from the United States and you're going, why would anybody go to dinner at 7-Eleven? They have better sushi there at the 7-Eleven store than almost anywhere in the United States. So if you ever go to Japan, you can go get some good dinner at your local 7-Eleven store. I don't know why they do that, but they do. So in any event, welcome to the show, young man. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be on your show, Kevin. I really appreciate the opportunity to have some positive talk. So let's do that.
Yes. Let's do that. So tell me how you developed the program that you have and put it all together, and the philosophy that is based on. When did you learn about this philosophy? I guess is a good place to begin.
That would be a good place to begin. So I learned about this word in a very casual conversation in 1998. I had started a job in Tokyo. I'd been in Japan a year before, and I was back excited, wanting to show off my Japanese. And I was walking with a coworker to lunch, and she casually asked me, "Oh, Nick, what's your Ikigai in Japanese?" And I'm like, "Ikigai, what's that?" And she gave me this incredible explanation of the reasons why we battle on through life and what makes our life worth living, and purpose. And yeah, I couldn't remember going back to the teacher's room and asking these other foreign teachers, "Have you heard of this word Ikigai?" And they hadn't. So I was really inspired by this word. And then the next day I wanted to continue the conversation with this particular coworker, but she'd been transferred. And I can still sort of feel the disappointment, thinking, I can't continue this conversation. And then oddly, I didn't really hear the word spoken again in Japan, despite living there for another 9 years. But about 10 years ago, I started to see the word pop up on LinkedIn, on the internet, and it been romanticized as this the secret to longevity, or the secret to happiness, or the sweet spot for the perfect job. And that started to kind of eat at me. And that eventually led me to starting a podcast as a passion project 6 years ago.
Very nice. And are you still doing the podcast today?
Yeah, I've done 116 episodes, so I sort of managed to do, I guess, one a fortnight. And I've interviewed academics, former rock stars, neuroscientists, everyday Japanese, non-Japanese, on the subject of Ikigai, which really is asking what makes life feel worth living.
I think that is a universal pursuit, isn't it?
I would say so. And we probably don't spend enough time reflecting and contemplating on actually what does make our life feel worth living. We go through the motions, we go through struggle, we often have a job we don't really enjoy. We're often in relationships where we're compromising our values, and we seem to look forward to the weekend or the bottle or Netflix to start kind of get through our life, which is obviously not the best way to approach it.
You know, the first time that we were talking, it struck me because everybody seems to have this innate desire to live their best life, to live a fulfilling life. But very few people actually have the intestinal fortitude and the idea of what that means, because it can get a little messy, can't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, with it, we can't have the good without the bad, and I mean, Ikigai even has elements of existential positive psychology. So going through hardship, going through a challenge, and then having a sense of identity or growth through that makes your life worth living. So it's not always about. I mean, it's more probably more about living an authentic life rather than a best life, because we probably can't live our best life, but we can be true to our values, make the right decisions with our agency, and just try to make the most of, I guess, each day, or these moments. And if you think about it, we do have these amazing moments or these small joys we can easily access. We just need to be present to them. So I think that's the problem. We're not present. We're always thinking about things we have to do. We're often filled with frustration or regret over the past. And we're rarely in the moment thinking, yeah, I'm enjoying this conversation. Like, look at us. We're having this conversation. How unlikely would this be 10, 20, 30 years ago? So I'm really grateful that we can have a chat, and hopefully other people will enjoy our conversation. So that's a great thing.
You're right, because 20 years ago, I was doing radio in Seattle. And in those days, they gave me a CD at the end of each hour. And then, but there was no internet. Or the internet was brand new, and nobody knew how to build a website, and there wasn't streaming or any of that kind of stuff. So when you and I, in 2003, if you and I were to have a conversation on the radio, it would go out into the ethers and it would be gone.
There you go.
And now it can stay forever. So if you don't listen to this today and you choose to listen to it tomorrow, next week, next month, then the information is still good and it's still fresh. I wanted to ask you, because on your website you mentioned that you talk about tragedy and trauma, and we all have had trauma in our lives, or what? But isn't it? And is this an Ikigai philosophy? It's how you handle that trauma and how you learn from it and not dwell in it for a long period of time?
That could be a part of it. I mean, Ikigai is more about, Iki comes from the verb ikiru, and gai is a word that means value or worth. So literally, it's the value of living. So what makes your life worth living? And it's something you feel. So it's really asking the question, what makes your life feel worth living? And so Ikigai is the answer to that question. Now, it's very subjective and personal. So your Ikigai will likely be different to mine, but you can have more than one. So it can be new friendships, it can be food. For me, it's obviously coming back to Japan and catching up with old friends, but making new friends. I'm actually going out today to have probably a pretty high-end sushi lunch with a total stranger, and he's invited me. and I can really appreciate the food, the conversation. So that gives me a sense that life is worth living. But then, yeah, my work, I really enjoy my work. I enjoy connecting with people. I enjoy sharing Japanese culture from a respectful, authentic perspective. It gives me that sense of purpose. So that's another source of Ikigai. My role as a father or my role as a husband is also a source of Ikigai. It allows me to express my values, and hopefully in both roles, I'm being the person I want to be. I guess trauma allows you to understand what matters to you. And we all go through some form of trauma in our childhood or in relationships. So there is this expression in Japanese, zaso damashi, which means the tenacity of weeds. And so if we think about weeds in a garden, we generally have this negative perception of them. We want to rip them out, and we're kind of frustrated when they come back. But Japanese see weeds, I'm sure they pull them out and everything, but they have this perspective, weeds have this fighting spirit. They come back and they can appear in the most unlikely of places. So I guess with trauma or challenge, it can help you develop this resilience and this sort of tenacity of weeds mentality. And I guess without trauma, we wouldn't understand how beautiful life can be. So I guess there's a balance. We obviously don't want excessive trauma in our life, but it's a very good teacher, especially when it comes to loss. We lose friends, we lose our parents. Hopefully, from those experiences, we gain this inner wisdom and can then decide what to focus on in life.
Now, I understand, and I think I remember when we talked before that Ikigai has become kind of a catchword and a catchphrase, and it is not necessarily portrayed by some in the true essence of what it is. Am I correct in that?
You are correct. So if anyone Googled Ikigai, listening to this, they would most likely come across this 4-circle Venn diagram asking, are you doing something you love, that you're good at, that the world needs, and that you can be paid for? And in the middle, where they all overlap, is this word Ikigai. Now, this is a misunderstanding or appropriation. That was actually the purpose Venn diagram some years ago, like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's actually had all these iterations. And then someone simply replaced purpose in the middle with Ikigai, and it went viral. So that's probably the biggest misconception. And coaches and entrepreneurs love sharing that because it's certainly an inspiring diagram. And who would not want that? We would probably all want that. It's just not Ikigai. The other misconception is the longevity connection. Some people think the word originates from Okinawa, and they think it's, one of the, I guess, secrets to living a long life. Now, Ikigai does encourage positive behaviors, especially social interaction. But some Japanese will say, drinking is their Ikigai, drinking and going out for a drink with your mates, that social interaction, having a good time. Ikigai can even be something like a coping mechanism, like cigarettes or comfort food. So these are things that we wouldn't consider healthy, but if they help you get through the day, for some people, that'd be a source of Ikigai. So yeah, most of the literature online is either factually incorrect or it's just romanticized. And so that's what inspired me to present this Japanese perspective. And that's why I started my own podcast.
Well, and it's important that we get it right as to what it is versus what it isn't, because I get it. There are things that I love to do that would be my ikigai that may not be yours, but that's perfectly okay, and we don't need to have any judgment around that, right?
Exactly. So your ikigai is something for you. It's not what the world needs. It's what you need. So if it's smoking, drinking, running around the house in your underwear, dancing to 80s rock, hey, that can be your ikigai. It's all good.
When was the last time you were in my house? Because that's exactly what I spend my time doing.
There you go. That's what I do. So,
Well, then we have the same Ikigai then, because and we need to take a break. But and we're talking with Nick Kemp. He's the developer of this program around Ikigai, and he helps people understand it and also be able to live their life to the best that they can, because that's, in my humble opinion, that's why we're here. We're here to have a good time, to enjoy life. And it can be, Ikigai can be many things to many people, if I'm getting that right. So we need to take a quick break. And this is my Ikigai. This is about integrity. And we'll be right back right after this. Here's another point to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. What is the easiest thing to justify? It is a small transgression. The one no one will ever see, no one will ever know. The tiny exaggeration on the expense report. The extra minute you took on your lunch break. The packaging you tossed in the wrong recycle bin because it was closer. In those moments, the question isn't, will I get caught? The question is, will I know? It isn't about avoiding punishment. It's a silent agreement you make with yourself when you choose to do the right thing. To return the wallet. To fix the mistake. To respect the empty space. You aren't impressing the world. You're earning your own respect. That small choice, made entirely in private, is how you build a life you never have to look away from. The only audience that matters is you. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. Nick Kemp is with us, and he's developed a program around the word Ikigai. Now, let me ask you, in playing that commercial, is integrity and believing that you have integrity and then acting on that integrity every day, is that a form of Ikigai?
yeah, I was going to say that's very relatable to Ikigai, because Ikigai is essentially living in alignment to your values and expressing your values. So we all have agency. And actually, while I was in Japan, I was with another study group looking at manufacturing and Kaizen, and this theme came up of be right or do right. And there was this kind of agreement that in Japan there is this focus on do right, do the right thing, where perhaps in the West there is this desire to be right, and we want to argue our point. We want to feel that we're right. So doing the right thing and also doing things properly. There's a Japanese word called chantosuru, to do things properly. Like, throwing the bottle in the right bin, or even at the hotel, because I knew the staff would have to take off the actual plastic around the bottle. I started to do it just as a way to say, thank you for cleaning my room. I'm going to go a little bit of the extra mile, or remove the plastic around the bottle, so it's already separated for you. And it makes you feel good. It makes you feel you're helping, just a small thing. So doing the right thing, being true to yourself, or having integrity, makes life feel worth living, because and we also know when we don't do the right thing, when we've been lazy, when we've white lied a little, and we have to kind of bear that burden. And if you do it too often, maybe you don't realize the burden, and you sort of become the person you don't want to be. So it's very relatable.
Very good, very good. And I got to tell you, that as we're sitting here talking, it is Thanksgiving Eve, and tomorrow's Thanksgiving in the United States. And one of the things that we are famous for is we get around a table and we have dinner and stuff. But then comes the talk of I've got to be right, and we have the political arguments that go on that make families fall apart and not like each other because I'm right, dang it, and you're not, and stuff. So there's a couple things. First of all, I implore everybody, if you have got a divided political family, don't talk politics at the table. Just let it be and enjoy the people for who they are. And then tomorrow, when you're having leftovers, then you can argue with people again. And that is, in my mind, well, as an example, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. If you are making a great big Thanksgiving dinner and you're doing it and you're putting your heart and soul into making it as best as you can, and that turns your crank and makes you happy, that's Ikigai, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Ikigai can be. I mean, Ikigai is very social. So a lot of people love cooking, but they especially love cooking for other people. And
Mm-hmm.
then, some families really enjoy uh, eating around a table, catching up. That the hosts who are looking after me, they're a family of 8, so 6 kids. And last time I was in Japan, I had the pleasure of having a meal with them. And I was amazed. I thought, wow, what a family. Everyone's so loving, friendly, polite, caring. And it felt so good. I have a fairly small family. The whole, my parents divorced and all this sort of complication. So seeing a family that truly loves each other and respects, and seeing these brothers and sisters be playful and friendly and encouraging sort of blew my mind. So that was a great source of Ikigai, I think, for me, just to witness, but I'm sure it was a great source of Ikigai for them as individuals and as a family to just be together and enjoy a meal.
I want to mention this because I think it's important. There are lots of cultures out there and Japan is one of them. The Philippines is another one. Now, they don't have a lot there, but they do have multi-generational families. And so grandma and grandpa do not get sent to the to the old folks home, and then we're going to see that. How come every time we come here there's a Christmas tree up, and that kind of thing, because they're multi-generational
Mm,
and they take care of each other, and that's
yeah.
important to them. Whereas, so that's part of their cultural ikigai, kind of, isn't it?
Yes, so in rural areas, that's very true. And in fact, the year before we returned to Australia, we decided to live 1 year with my father-in-law so he could have time with his grandson. And I remember the first time someone told me about this. I think it was New Year's Eve. A friend had picked me up, and we went to his Japanese friend's house, and they had this lovely new house, and they just married. And yeah, through the conversation, one of them eventually said, "Oh yeah, I'm living with my parents," and I'm like, "What? You just got married, and you're living with your parents?" And I couldn't believe it. I thought, you just got married. You should be having the time of your life. You should be running around the house naked. And what? You're living with your parents? And I couldn't believe it. I thought, how bizarre. But then, you know, as the years went by, I realized, oh, yeah, these multi-generational families. Yeah, my grandfather had this wonderful experience of having his grandson at the time he was 3, 4, of this beautiful little person running around. And yeah, he now lives with his other grandchildren. So yeah, there is this idea that there's actually a Japanese expression called obaste, which is this idea of throwing out your grandparents, because some families do that. But yeah, it's beautiful to see these families, and I think the grandchildren learn and they get to see their grandfather still making pottery and still having a meaningful life. And yeah, in the States or in Australia, we go and see our grandparents as a special occasion, almost as if it's a pain in the ass. It's like, oh, okay, we better go see grandma or granddad because we haven't been in a while, which is kind of horrible when you think about probably how much that they've given to you as a parent, or your children as a grandparent or a, a, a figure, a parenting figure. So cultural differences.
Boy, and I was just thinking, one of my, you're going to think that I'm a little odd, but one of my bucket list things is I want to visit a pub in Scotland, Ireland, England, and Australia. Because you guys have the more, especially the Aussies, they have more fun in a pub than humans should be allowed to have, and so in my world that would be my ikigai, wouldn't it?
Yeah, another source of ikigai. So we can explain it as you have sources of ikigai. So it's not the one thing. It can be something small, something big, something new, something you've always wanted to do. It can be your morning coffee. It can be your favorite music. It can be travel. It can be your work, or it can be this idea of, I want to go and travel the world and visit pubs, or go to Australia and visit a pub. And then you have IKIGAI-KAN, which is the experience or the feeling that source gives you. So if it's coffee in the morning, it could be a sense of comfort or relief. If is making new friends, it's that sense of joy and connection. If it's traveling overseas to visit pubs, it might be that sense of excitement and adventure. So we can have multiple sources of ikigai. And in the West, we've kind of tried to make it this one big ambitious thing to achieve. But Japanese really know the secret to living is found in the small joys of life. And the more present you are, again, if you're present, you see them. You see these triggers for joy or happiness or connection or opportunity. And you can create it. You can say, I want to go to these pubs in Ireland, the UK, Scotland, and Australia and have a good time. And why not?
Yeah, because in the United States, the pubs we have here, nobody talks to each other, and it's not nearly as much fun. And I could be wrong, but there's singing in other countries in pubs, and there's laughter, and there's a lot of folks, and you can talk to strangers, and everybody kind of gets along, and that kind of thing. It really is. It's different, and I'd like to experience that because I grew up in the restaurant business and in bars and stuff, and so that I'm interested in that kind of thing. So that would be fun for me.
Well, I'll tell you what happened to me not last night, but the night before. I Googled a rest. I was thinking I want some okonomiyaki, which is like Japanese savory pancake, and I found this okonomiyaki restaurant with craft beer. I thought, fantastic. So 20-minute walk, got there, wasn't too crowded, really kind of nice, high end, really nice. They sort of cook the pancake for you, open kitchen. So I started chatting to the staff, and then I eventually met the owner, and he gave me his business card, and he said, oh, look, I've got this restaurant, I've got a bar, I've got a takoyaki restaurant, so takoyaki are octopus balls, and I've got a karaoke bar. And after a few drinks and eating, I said, oh, let's go to your bar. And he said, all right. So we left the restaurant, we walked down the street, went to his bar. I treated him a drink. I met this guy next to me. We started talking, got friendly, hey, drinking. And he said, let's go sing some songs. So we left that bar. We walked sort of down the road a few hundred meters. And then we went to this really nice karaoke bar. And we started singing, AC/DC and all these songs. And I kept on sort of drinking these gin tonics. And, woke up a bit seedy the next morning, but it was a really good night. So that's what Ikigai is. You make these new friends. You never know. Yeah, you can just sort of start asking people questions, and before you know it, they're taking you to their other bar. You meet someone else, you start having a chat to them, and then before you know it, you're singing songs with them, and you're just having a good time.
Yeah, that doesn't happen here very much, and sadly. And I wish there were more of it. And now, to be fair, I don't go to hang out in taverns and bars like I may have once done years ago. But I get it. I get it. By the way, we are talking with Nick Kemp. Nick, if somebody wants to go to your website and explore what's there, how do they get there?
Just Google Ikigai Tribe or just go to ikigaitribe.com. You'll find the podcast, you'll find blog posts, you'll find other stuff that I do. And yeah, feel free to reach out and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, because I will tell you that doing radio and podcasts and radio shows and stuff, that's my ikigai. I do that 10 shows a week generally, and I just love doing it. And I love talking to people like you and getting a sense for what humanity can be and what it could be if we chose to follow, and I was struck you were talking about the past and the future and the present. Well, you can't do anything about the past. The past is done. And so forgive yourself, forgive other people that are part of your past, that you may have trouble with that. And think about today, because today's important and tomorrow is going to become today. So if you think about each day and live each day to the fullest that you can, regardless of what it is that you're doing, then you will have a happier life. Even if you don't have a lot of money, you don't have the Cadillac, you don't have the beautiful wife. Although there is something to say for having a beautiful wife, I will tell you that. But I wouldn't know because I don't have that anymore. Anyway, we're talking with Nick Kemp. We need to take our halftime break. And when we come back, I want to talk about your coaching and your style and all the things that you do with the podcast and to help people. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that what we're trying to do here is to help everybody live their best life and to recognize that you're not going to get out of it alive anyway. So you might as well relax and enjoy each day as it comes, because one day it's going to not come anymore. And you want to be able to face that day with the idea that I left nothing on the table. I've really have done everything I can to live my best life and have the best relationships and all that stuff. So we're going to talk more about that with Nick when we come back. We'll be back in a minute and 10 seconds. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back. We're talking with Nick Kemp, and he is the CEO and development guru of Ikigai and the Ikigai Tribe, I would say. And you can, if you're real good and you ask real nice, you can become a coach who is trained in Ikigai. Is that correct?
That is correct. So what happened was, once I started the podcast and I started interviewing these academics, artists, coaches started reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I want to coach this concept. Do you have a certification?" And I was thinking, now that's interesting. People telling you what they want, but what certification? I knew accreditation would require some governing body or some education institution to say, yeah, you're accredited to, your course is accredited. But I was thinking, well, what does certification really mean? Does it mean you just make your own course up and certify it yourself? And I spoke to my mentor, and he said, yeah, that's exactly what it is, but you should do it. You've lived in Japan, you've done the podcast, you've done the research. So then I reached out to the academics I had interviewed and said, hey, there's this opportunity. Would it be okay if I share your research? They were fine. They've been really encouraging, actually. I've got a lot of support from Japanese academics. And so the goal was to share an evidence-based, culturally respectful perspective of Ikigai that would sort of be like a toolkit, because oddly, there's all these, ironies to the word. So it's a common everyday word, yet Japanese don't use it very often. They have a word for this. We don't. But what Japanese wouldn't know is it's become a psychological concept. And there's hundreds of research papers on this concept. And there are psychometric tools that measure Ikigai, and the research is growing. So yeah, it's this unique word that Japanese don't really use that often in conversation, but that they have many words like this. Japanese have this ability to articulate a state or an idea or a concept and encapsulate it in one word, whereas in English, we sort of have to use a sentence or a paragraph to describe it. So that's what makes the Japanese language fascinating. Excuse me. And yeah, then I started to build out a program, and that was 5 years ago, and it's constantly being improved, evolving with more and more research. There are sub-theories. And I wanted to touch on what you said before we went to the break, this idea that we do die. There's actually another word that's becoming popular called shukatsu. So shu meaning the end and katsu activity. And in Japan, I guess to remove the burden of having others deal with your death after it happens, you kind of prepare and plan for the end. And not just writing a will, but you write like a gratitude note to people. You plan what you want to do with the rest of your life, and you proactively face this idea that you will die. And so you take care of things, so it's easier for others, but it's also you end up doing the things you want to do before you die.
And the disposition of all of your assets and all of that stuff is, and
Exactly.
you can put that all together, because I got to tell you, and when somebody passes away, even with a will and stuff, and there are multiple people that are, like children and other relatives, and there's money involved, it can get really messy.
Nasty. Yeah. Get that sorted. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is just part of that's part of living well, is because we're all gonna die, and we might as well die well. And if you can do that and take care of everything prior to that would be great. There's a group and tell me what you think of this concept and idea. Because I'd never heard it before they put this song together. It's called Open Win. And what it is when somebody goes off to college, or they're going to be away from you for a period of time, and it might be they're in the military or wherever it is, they take a box and they put notes in the box and into envelopes, and then they put things on the envelope that says, like, when you're feeling low, when you're feeling lonely, when you want company. And then they give the box, and these people take it with them wherever they're going. And then when they are feeling one of those things, they take out the envelope and they open it up, and there's a saying, or there's a heartfelt thought or a suggestion. We don't do anything like that in this country. Have you ever heard of that before? Do other people do that?
No, but that's that articulates this idea that you matter. And in my research with Japanese, a lot of young Japanese want to know that they matter, or they have a sense of belonging, and that people care about them, and that's enough for them to feel ikigai. And it often comes from something small, a message, a quick phone call. And this is, yeah, I think we miss out on this in the West because we're fixated on success, appearance, status. So where do they do that? In which country?
They in Nashville, Tennessee. This is where these gals are, and I don't even know if it was a thing. It was a song that they wrote. I don't even know if
Song.
they
Yeah.
do it. But I mean, it's a wonderful idea, and it's a great way to acknowledge the value that somebody else brings to you. But it can also make you feel good because you're doing that for somebody else, and it's a great act of service.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's what it's all about, expressing that you care about someone and that you're there for them, and you have them in your thoughts. And I guess the more connected we are virtually, or through the internet, it seems the quality of the connection, seems to drop off. I'm actually wanting to do more in-person work, and that's why I'm here in Japan. I'm sort of planning to do more retreats and workshops, because I think the in-person experience matters. Now, obviously, I'm really grateful that we can talk online, but when we've got these things in our hands all the time, uh, even when we are together, you go to cafes or restaurants, you see couples or whole families swiping instead of talking. Like, what does it all come to?
It's the craziest thing. I was at a walking past a store, and they had kind of a deli in it, and and this mother and two kids were having ice cream on the patio. It was a warm day, and they each, rather than, because I was thinking to myself, this is a perfect opportunity for her to find out what's going on in the kids' lives and talk about them and answer any questions and stuff like. But no, all three of them were sitting there scrolling on their phones, not saying a word to one another. And it's we live in a crazy society now because connection and the social connection is so important, and we're missing out on that. As a matter of fact, there are groups springing up now, and I'm sure that in your world with the coaching team that you have, and the getting together and sharing notes and socializing and talking together, that's the human experience, and I think we're missing that now.
Yes, there's a sub-theory of Ikigai called ibasho, with it being a compound of the verb iru, meaning to exist, and basho, meaning place. And again, it used to be a normal word that just meant whereabouts, but it's become this word. I guess it's become a psychological concept, meaning a place to be yourself. And we all need this ibasho where we have social connection, we have authentic relationship, and we have this environment or context where we can be ourselves. And so that that can be the local pub, it can be the cafe, or it can be like a little community you develop. So that's been one of my challenges, is how do I build community when I'm coaching all these people, or I'm training all these coaches and psychologists from different parts of the world. They're in the States, they're in Europe, they're in Asia. And I mean, I used to do weekly calls in 2 time zones to sort of bring people together. It was quite challenging. And last year I did my first retreat and had 6 people come together. So yeah, I think you're right. We need the space and the time to create social connection where we're fully present, fully focused on each other, on what we're doing, rather than saying, "Oh, just hang on, I got to check this message," or "Hang on, I've got to send this email." because it really destroys the moment. And I am getting to the point where I'll just bluntly say, put your effing phone away. So,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
there's a point in time when you just got to be honest and blunt, because the phones are not, they need to be put away from time to time. And,
Absolutely.
because developing a connection with another human being, I think, is probably the coolest thing in the world. And we're missing that a lot.
It changes. I can't tell you how connections have changed my life. Like I'm here in this amazing apartment because of connections. I'm catching up with all these friends through random chances of introductions or just meeting people, but they become friends and then they become your supporters. Think of all the opportunities or all the support you received from others, and yeah, it's sort of astounding how your life is often shaped by either the small actions of others or, the love and support of someone closer. So we should be very grateful of the people in our lives and what they do for us, because they really give us opportunity. They help us, they support us, and we're not self-made. We get so much support and help. So the social connection factor really matters, and we need to, I think we need to appreciate it more and recognize it more.
And by the way, I have to ask you, because you're in Tokyo, right?
Yes.
So, and this is where it gets a little complicated, folks. Okay, so today is Thursday in Tokyo. What time of day is it in Thursday in Tokyo?
8:45 in the morning.
So I got to ask you, did I have a good time last night? Here? on Wednesday
like
night going into
coming
Thursday?
to you. I'm coming to you in the future. It looks like you had a good time. So meaningful conversation and sharing. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, again, we're talking with Nick Kemp. And if you go to his website, which is IKIGAI-TRIBE.com, and spell Ikigai for me.
Ikigai. So it's IKIGAI. Ikigai. Iki meaning to live, gai meaning value.
And I gotta ask you, because, and we got to take our last break, but when we come back from this break, one of the things that they are talking about with those circle things that you were talking about is they're talking about all the circles on the outside and then purpose. Now they put Ikigai there instead, but that is kind of a marketing thing more so than it is anything else, because it's kind of like. Kind of like The Secret and the Law of Attraction and all of those kind of things, but it's a lot simpler and more direct than that, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's both simpler, then it's also more complicated, as in it has more depth and breadth than that. Yeah.
Yeah. When we come back, let's talk about depth and breadth of that. And we'll be right back. Stay with us, everybody. We're talking with Nick Kemp. He developed the Ikigai Tribe. And if you want to join the tribe, just go to his website, IKIGAI-TRIBE.com, and anywhere in the world, because we're now, it's tomorrow, and he's talking to me yesterday, which is today for me. I don't know. It gets really complicated, but and then he's going to leave here and go have sushi with somebody he hasn't even met really yet. So we will be right back. Stay with us, everybody. There's just a minute, and then we'll be back with Nick Kemp. Stay with us. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A woman spent years hating the reflection in her mirror. One day, she whispered, "I am enough." Day by day, her reflection became her friend. Self-love begins with the words you tell yourself. Speak gently, because you are listening. This is brought to you by Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And we're back with Nick Kemp. I love that one because when you look in the mirror and you can honestly look in the mirror and say, I love who I'm seeing. I love who I'm being. I have the ability to be happy without any external forces or any, having the TV on or having a fifth of scotch or I don't know what. But you know what I mean? If you can just be happy with yourself, isn't that in and of itself a form of Ikigai?
Well, what I can share with you is this comes from a Japanese neuroscientist, Ken Mogi, who wrote a book in English on Ikigai. It's called The Little Book of Ikigai, and that's definitely worth a read. And we've become good mates. He has a 5-pillar framework for Ikigai, and one of them is release yourself. I really love the framing of that word because it's essentially saying accept yourself or love yourself. And try and say to a man in an Aussie pub, oh, mate, just love yourself or accept yourself. Probably not going to fly. But if you say, look, release yourself, just be the person you want to be, fully accept who you are, what happens is you become less critical of yourself, which means you become less critical of others and you become this better person to be around sort of naturally. And then serendipitously or seemingly serendipitously, you start to attract better people in your life because you're kind of more easygoing, you're more attractive. You're not critical, you're not angry. You've decided, you know what? I'm going to release myself. I'm just going to embrace life, take it as it comes. I'm getting older, I'm getting fatter, I'm getting lines, I'm getting gray, but hey, I'm alive. I'm not dead. Some of my friends aren't here anymore. So yeah, if we can release ourselves, we can enjoy life more. And as a result, people enjoy the time they spend with us more. So yeah, release this burden of thinking you have to look a certain way or earn a certain amount of money or achieve a certain things before before you can be happy. Just release yourself and enjoy life now because we have a lot to live for and we have a lot to appreciate.
Can I steal that, by the way?
Absolutely. Just mention Ken Mogi. Good man.
I,
He's a good man.
I will. Have you met him, or is he still with us?
No, Ken's a good friend of mine. So he's kind of like a celebrity neuroscientist in Japan. So he's often on TV and he's this incredibly gregarious, friendly guy. And he's been very supportive. So he was part of my workshop last year on my retreat. He's been on my podcast 4 times. When he's often traveling, but when he's in Japan, we'll catch up for a beer or a meal. So yeah, and this is what Ikigai is about. You sort of form these friendships either around your work or just in your social group, and you have your supporters. So, because actually, I want to share something Ken said to me that I'd like to pass on to you, because you do 10 podcasts a week, yeah? You do all this work. So Ken said to me, like, Nick, there'll be people listening to your podcast now who will actually benefit from it, but they probably won't take the time to thank you. But maybe, in their mind or heart, they're grateful, or in a way they're thanking you, but they just won't. So I want to pass that on to you, Kevin. I'm sure there are thousands of people who really appreciate what you do, but in the daily chaos of life, they don't take the time to thank you. But I'm sure they sort of are. So yeah, thank you for the work that you do, for having me on and all. I mean, think of all the interviews and the thousands of hours of content you've created. And obviously a lot of people can access this evergreen content. And who knows, it might change their life. It might change their thought process. It might tweak their moment in a day. And yeah, they're probably having a better day for it. So wanted to pass that on to you.
Well, I really appreciate that, and thank you, because I grew up in the restaurant business, and the fact of the matter is, you go to a restaurant, you get a nice meal, you get served well, and you pay your bill, and then you leave. If you're not served well, then you complain. So most people, their natural tendency is, and it's like 10 to 1, they're going to complain if it's not right, but they're going to expect it to be fine and stuff. And so, but at the same time, Nick, there is somebody in our audience, either now or later, that is going to look at the term Ikigai, and they're going to look up Nick Kemp, and they're going to find out what it really means and how it can affect not only them. And do you talk about this? Because I think this has to be true, that there's a ripple effect, that when somebody is doing what you're doing, and they're doing what makes them genuinely happy, and they're happier people, there's a ripple effect with their friends and family and people that they know, isn't there?
Absolutely. One Japanese guest described Ikigai as being contagious, and that if you're living your Ikigai, it's likely it's going to kind of rub off on others to inspire them or encourage them to seek more purpose or meaning or joy in their life. And then another sub theory is this idea of rolefulness. So rolefulness, role satisfaction. And this was coined by a Japanese professor. And I thought, wow, what a fascinating word, because our roles matter. They are a source of Ikigai. They give us identity, a sense of purpose, connection, meaning, parent, partner, employer, employee, entrepreneur, friend. The list could go on and on. And I think through role, we definitely have this ripple effect. Yeah. So if you're looking, because a lot of people talk about looking or finding their Ikigai, your roles would be a good place to start. Are you living in alignment to your values in your various roles? And I guess through our role, we can be the person we want to be in various contexts. So it definitely has a ripple effect in that social context of rolefulness. Yeah.
And Nick, I got to tell you, because he's commented in, there's a guy in Kenya, his street guy, and he was just living on the street, just trying to make do, doing what he could. Well, he decided that he didn't want to do that anymore, and he wanted more. And so Samuel, by the way, Samuel Burchell is sick today, and I'm sorry about that. But Samuel says, greetings, Brother Kevin and guest Brother Nicholas Kemp. Receive greetings from Kiberia slums in Nairobi, Kenya. We're watching you live, and it's midnight their time, and there's like 20 people in a room watching YouTube and watching the show live. This is our favorite from the Kabiri Restoring Hope Center. So he goes from being a street kid, and then he grows up and he decides, I'm going to help 370 kids and their family get something to eat every Saturday so that they don't go to bed hungry. And we might think that's a simple thing, but in Kenya, it ain't so simple. And so he's got a whole team working with him now. He said, thanks for the wonderful program, Positive Talk Radio. Say hey to my sister, Michelle. She will be back in the next day or two. She's just sicker than a dog right now. She sounds kind of like my brother. Hey, so because she's got a terrible cold. But thank you, Samuel. And so that is the essence of his Ikigai, is that this is what he's doing to serve humanity, right?
Yeah. So this would actually articulate the purpose piece of Ikigai. So this purpose of role or serving others. And the word for purpose in Japanese is shimei. And if you look at the two kanji characters, shi means to use, and mei, which is also inochi, means life. So it's really saying use life. So purpose in Japanese kind of articulates this idea of how are you using your life, or how do you want to use your life? And we talk about a sense of purpose. We feel a sense of purpose when we're using our life in a meaningful way. And obviously, Samuel, like, wow, what a way to use your life, to go from, I had this experience, I know what it's like to live in poverty, and now he's feeding people, he's building community, and he's using his life in this incredibly positive, meaningful, helpful way. And I'm sure he feels this incredible sense of purpose. So Ikigai also has this centerpiece of sense of purpose, feeling that what you do matters, it helps others, and you feel your life is moving forward. So that's very inspiring. Yeah.
And it's really cool because even being kind to somebody else, if it makes you feel good inside to smile at somebody and be kind to them, that is a form of ikigai, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, when I come to Japan, I really love it because you get in an elevator, people hold the door for you, let you go in and out first. You have these little bows. When you exit or enter trains, they queue off from the sides so you can easily get off. There's all these gestures, and there's this social awareness of others. And then when I come back to Melbourne, it all turns to crap. And then you go to the supermarket and staff are sort of talking amongst themselves and go, oh, hi, how you going? And they continue their conversation, and then it'll be 7 p.m. They'll say, oh, you have a good day. And they have no awareness, not even of time. And they do their job half-assed. Where in Japan, they really do things properly. And it's these little moments, a little smile, a nod of the head, you go first. Even in Japan, you get on a train, if it's crowded and they've got a backpack, they'll take it off and put it in front of them so they know that they're not going to bump into people, with the backpack on their back. So they're highly socially aware, often to the degree it might be burdensome, but when you do go to Japan, you feel safe, you feel cared for, you feel respected. And I love it. So in this sort of crowded city of chaos, there's this order and social care that you probably would struggle to find in a similar city of the same population.
Well, I hope that your work continues. It continues to grow because I think the concept is beautiful, and goodness knows we need more of that, especially where I live in the United States, because it's crazy town here, and stuff. But Nick Kemp, we got to go. But I want you to be able to tell our audience anything that you'd like them to know as a closing. You get the last word, young man.
I just want to express my gratitude, Kevin, for the work, the amount of time you put into this, because we had a call about a month ago. So I know you put a lot of love, effort, your whole team into producing all the shows that you do. So it's been an honor and joy to connect. And if I ever get to Seattle, I'll take you out for a beer.
Maybe even two.
Great.
Because exactly, and Nick, I just gotta tell you, we need people and systems like you have created so that we can all work together to get along, because at the fundamental level, we are all one. We are all connected. And we don't believe that in many cases, but it's the truth. Doesn't matter what we look like, doesn't matter who we love, it doesn't matter what sex we are, we're all connected to one another. So
I agree.
And thank you so much for being here. You have a great day and enjoy your lunch.
I will. Thank you. You enjoy your evening, and you're not having Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow, but enjoy your work tomorrow.
I will. I get to talk to somebody in your home country, so that'll be fun.
Nice. All right.
So,
thanks, Kevin.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.